Good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome to Silver and Black Today's YouTube channel. Of course, big announcement today. Our show is now part of Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. That's right. The Raiders announced today, along with Lotus Broadcasting Corporation, that the flagship station for the Raiders in Las Vegas. People were waiting for this announcement for a long time to find out where the Raiders radio home would be, and it's going to be on 92.3 KOMP, which is the FM station here, also simulcast on now Raider Nation Radio 920. That's right. The Raiders have a complete station now, right? Raider Nation Radio for all of you, which is fantastic. I know a lot of Raider fans were frustrated the last several years in the Bay Area, and you can understand, and we'll skip that conversation because that's old news. We're on to the future. And so we just wanted to jump on tonight and talk about that as we're part of that. We're going to be 2 to 4 every day, Monday through Friday, and the lineup too, which we'll go over in a second. But I wanted to bring on and join me tonight is my good friend, former contributor to our show, actually going back a couple years, and that is, of course, Vinny Bonsignore from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, longtime NFL writer. This was the guy, folks, if you remember, when it came to relocation and all that stuff that happened, Vinny was the guy. I mean, he just was. And I'm not saying that, Vinny, because you're on with me now. It is the truth. And we appreciate the work we did. And congratulations on your show. And congratulations on everything that's happened to you in the last 6 months coming here to Las Vegas.
Well, thank you very much. And absolutely likewise. And as you were mentioning, contributing to Silver and Black Today back in the day, a couple of years ago, it seems like such a long time ago, but it was really just a couple of years ago. I'll never forget. I was covering the Rams at the time. We were in Denver, and it was it was like this crazy snowstorm in October. It just came out of nowhere, as it sometimes happens in Denver. And I was driving to the stadium in this snow. I'm from California. I never drive in the snow ever. Doing the interview with you, I probably broke 1,000 laws. I'm just glad that I wasn't arrested or anything like that. But we got the hit in, and that's what it's all about.
We did, and no, I remember that day too, because I remember you talking about right before we went on the air, and that's all we could try to do is, get you in trouble and get you some tickets and have you to have to pay for that. But no, it does seem like so long ago, but that's the thing too for us, Vinny. You covered relocation a lot, so you've been even before you went, you moved from covering the Rams with the Athletic to then the Review-Journal now for the Raiders. You've been covering that all along. And for us, we've been covering the team from a distance, right? We couldn't go to training camp. We couldn't do that. We were waiting for them to get to Las Vegas. And of course, then Mr. COVID comes into the building and kind of messes that up too. But we're going to get to that in a second. But Vinny, when you look at this lineup today with this announcement, first of all, let me get that out so people understand what's going to happen on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM here in Las Vegas. Morning show, Pritchard and Clay. So Mike Pritchard, former first-round draft pick, professional football player. Mike's been in Las Vegas before. Great guy, great on the radio. Clay Baker, longtime ESPN 1100 host, used to do the morning show here with your colleague from the Review-Journal, Ed Graney. They're going to do mornings. Then they're going to have from 10 to 12, the only non-local show, which is the Mike Greenberg show. He's back on radio with ESPN, so he's going to do that. Then a guy, I don't know, maybe people have heard of him, and you just got off the air with him, right? JT the Brick. JT the Brick, the living legend himself, of course, Mr. Raider. And when it comes to broadcasting, he's going to do middays, noon to 2 p.m., which is unbelievable that he's going to be able to talk Raiders and do it specifically on Raider Nation Radio. And of course, he, as part of this deal too, since he also works for the Raiders, he's going to be doing the John Gruden show. He's going to be doing all kinds of special programming that you'll hear both on 920, but you also hear on 92.3 on game days. So the pregame stuff and all that, and that's just exciting. And then from 2 to 4, our show, Silver and Black Today, it's like, I don't know, going after JT is such an honor and so cool. I'm so excited to be there after that. And it's going to be myself and Q Myers. We'll be hosting that show daily, and it'll be basically the same format we've always done. So we're excited about that. And then some guy named Vinny is going to do Inside the Huddle from 4 to 6, Vinny. So now, I mean, you've done radio a lot. That's why, whenever we had you on and when you were a contributor, you just know it. You know how to do it. Now you're going to be hosting your own show. Talk a little bit about how that's going to be, how you feel like doing 2 hours a day focused on the Raiders and the NFL. I'm sure you'll cover NFL topics too, but tell us a little bit how you're feeling about that.
Well, honored, number one. It's great to be able to call yourself a teammate, JT a teammate. We've all known each other for a long time now, and being able to now work together officially is just super, super happy about that. Proud, and I can't wait to get started. And I like where my show is going to be following your show. I know we're going to have a lot of fun in between. You handing the ball off to me on a jet sweep, from right around 3:45 to 4 o'clock, and for me, being able to be at the facility, it's not going to be as it normally would be, and God willing, we're going to get past COVID-19 sooner rather than later, where we can get back to a more normal situation where I'll be in the locker room throughout the day, watching practice throughout the day, following the news and talking to players and talking to coaches and kind of getting a sense. And football is so unique because it leads up. It's a 7-day type deal, and it literally turns on Sunday night, where you're starting to focus on the next game, building up to the next game, and to be able to be on the radio every day to digest and deliver that news and that insight and that analysis to the fans at the end, basically, of a work day, is really cool. And I'm going to try to tap into all of my sources and all of my insight to be able to deliver that in a fun way, an informative way, and really give the listeners what they want. We serve them. There's no question in our role, as fortunate as we are. The fact of the matter is, the bottom line is that we're here for the fans, to deliver news to the fans and insight and analysis and access. And I can't wait to get started delivering that to them.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like the extra time that's going to require us to do that and all that's going to be really, really fun. And we're going to have longer days. But you know what? It's, being able to cover and do what we do, and you've been doing it. I jumped back into it 3 years ago when I started Silver and Black Today. But I just, it's unbelievable. And the fact that Las Vegas and what's happening here and all these new facilities and this kind of sports renaissance that's been happening here in the city, Vinny, very, very exciting. And then I like the makeup. We were talking before we went on the air. I like the makeup of the shows too, because you start with Clay and Pritch, you get that NFL player mentality and insight from him. And then Clay's a longtime radio host, knows his stuff really, really good. They're going to be fantastic together. And then you have JT and you, both really, inside the organization on a daily basis. And then me and Q are going to be in the middle of that with sort of a common man's view of it, right? Yeah, we cover the team and we're on the radio and we write and we do things like that. But at the same time, that mix, I think, of the personalities too is going to be really great. And I think the one thing, before, I know people will say, well, you're just kissing butt here because it's a Raider deal. But I think the Raiders and the approach with the broadcast here and the fact that Lotus Broadcasting Corporation has taken an entire station and named it Raider Nation Radio. So it's for the fans. You can now tune in for the entire day and hear about Raiders, where they've been starved for this kind of content, Vinny.
Yeah, and when I think about that, and first of all, I think it's warranted. The Raider brand, it's an iconic franchise with an iconic fan base that isn't just limited to the Bay Area and not Las Vegas. This is a worldwide team and definitely a nationwide team, and it stretches all the way across America. I get emails and hit up on Twitter from fans all over the world, really, to be honest with you, and I know you do too. So to have their own station, I think there aren't that many teams, I don't believe, that can carry that. But I think the Raiders can. And when I think about all that, I think about a night in 2016, in January of 2016, at a hotel ballroom in Houston, when the NFL, awarded the Rams, the then St. Louis Rams, dibs on Los Angeles, with the Chargers getting second, option to join the Rams, and the Raiders were a distant third. And I remember the disappointment of the Raiders on that evening. It was apparent, and it hurt. It was like a gut punch for the Raiders. But as time went on, and I'll never forget, I'm walking to go pick up my kids, who are now teenagers, basically. But at that time, they were in elementary school, and I was walking to go pick up my kids at school, and I get a call, and it was one of those calls where, hey, are you sitting down? And I go, well, I can be. Do I need to be? And just to let you know that you're going to hear starting tomorrow that the Raiders are pursuing Las Vegas as a new home, the Las Vegas Raiders. And I just remember that clicking in my head. I was like, the Las Vegas, right? That makes so much sense right there. Why wasn't that ever thought about before? And from that moment on, I really had the conviction that this was going to work. This was going to happen. Mark Davis was going to make it happen. The NFL was going to get on board. Las Vegas and Nevada was going to do what they do to get things done. They did what they were supposed to do. The Raiders did what they took care of their end. The NFL right on down the line. And this was, to me, a perfect marriage. And more importantly for the Raiders, it was the best move. There's no doubt that they would have worked in Los Angeles. They have a rabid fan base there. People would have gone to go see them play. But they would have never had that town to themselves. They would have always been sharing it, whether it would have been the Chargers in Carson or with the Rams in Inglewood. And you never would have gotten, I don't believe, that distinct Raider feel that they deserve. And now you drive, I'm pointing over here to the Strip, which is that way from where I live. And you drive by that stadium, and there's no mistake in whose stadium that is. It's the Raiders Stadium. You look at the colors, it's the Raiders Stadium. You go to Henderson, I'm pointing over there because that's where their facility is. And you look at that beautiful facility that they've built in Henderson, and it's Raider centric. It dominates that part of town. And now they have Raider Nation Radio. They wouldn't have gotten this in Los Angeles. There's so many teams. They would have shared that city with another NFL team. They would have done fine. They would have done great. But this is their town now. This is their city. This is their market. And they have it all to themselves, including now a radio station. And I think that, going back to that night in 2016 with the disappointment that was on that stage to now where it may have worked out better for the Raiders than anybody else in this whole deal. You got to kind of tip your cap to everybody involved, and that includes the state of Nevada and the politicians that put this together. It was a great move, and we're seeing for the Raiders the benefits of that, including, I keep saying this, their own Raider Nation radio station.
Yeah, we got to get that. We got the logo in the corner above Vinny's head there. You can do it. But that's the thing, Vinny, and I've talked a lot about this over the past couple weeks because, to your point, LA is a Raider town. I mean, I know there's Rams fans there too, and you covered the Rams, but like you said, they would have been fine in Los Angeles. But we were talking about this past weekend. But yes, you would have had the Rams there. You would have had USC there. You would have had the Lakers. You would have had the Dodgers, right? So it's coming into Las Vegas. There was a lot of concern, and you reported on this at first, which was, well, Las Vegas is a small market and it's not that big. Can it sustain it? It's going to be all visiting fans and kind of the normal things that we hear about the negatives of the Raiders coming to Las Vegas. But I think we've seen with the sales of the PSLs and what happened there and how it blew away the numbers even they expected. And then you come here now, Vinny, you've lived here for a little while, so you've seen it. And as much as this community loves the Golden Knights, and they will, it has a very special place because of what happened back 1 October and all of that, it's still the NHL. And even though I love hockey, I'm a fan, it's not the NFL. The NFL in a market, as people in Las Vegas are going to learn very, very soon, and they already are, because we just launched a radio station today devoted to just one team, is the fact that the NFL dwarfs everything. And I think for people who weren't expecting that or have never maybe lived in an NFL market, because there are people here in Las Vegas because they come from everywhere who haven't, it really is, it takes over everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, no question about it. And I can't wait. Again, unfortunately, there is a shadow hanging over us right now. I can't wait to get out from under it with COVID-19. So we're going to have a bit of a watered down, probably first year. But at some point soon, and keeping my fingers crossed that it is sooner rather than later, the fans are going to be part of this in a big and major way, in a way that they really deserve. And when you start, the course of an NFL season, the 16 game, the ebbs and the flows and the highs and the peaks and the valleys, and the celebration on Sunday night bleeding into Monday, where the whole town is reveling in a big win, and the despair and the disappointment over a big loss. And yes, unfortunately, there will be some of those along the way where your gut, is falling out because it was such a painful, last second quarterback, throw by the other team to upset you. All those feelings, and the good ones and the bad ones, it's all part of this experience. And very soon, hopefully, fans are going to be able to revel in that in person at Allegiant Stadium, as they deservedly should be. So you're going to see that as time goes on, as this fan base grows out here in Las Vegas, and I truly believe that that's going to happen. You know, I've been blown away by this by this market, by this area. I didn't even know Henderson really existed, to be honest with you, or Summerlin, or some of the beautiful suburbs that are here in Las Vegas, because I was like everybody else. I'd come to Las Vegas for a couple of nights, have fun, stay at the Strip, get on a plane, head back to Los Angeles, or a car and drive back to Los Angeles, and that was that. But now I see what Las Vegas really is all about, and it's unlike what anyone really thinks of if they haven't really experienced it the way I've been fortunate to experience it. So I believe that this town is well situated, well positioned to support this team in every imaginable way, and they will, and they're going to be a part of this, and they're going to grow with this franchise, and it's going to be a special thing to see on Sundays when I'm not saying Las Vegas is going to close down, because that'll never happen. But there is going to be, you're going to feel it when there's a big game here in this town, and you're going to feel the excitement when the Raiders pull off a big win, or the despair when they don't. And that's all the beautiful aspect of sports, the highs and the lows, and living and dying with your team. And that's going to happen here in Las Vegas. I'm convinced of it. And then you throw in the fact that there's going to be fans coming from Los Angeles. You know, when I moved here, and I was trying to not convince the kids, but say, hey, this is where we're going to move. They're California kids. They love California. But when we started looking at some homes on Zoom and Zillow and all of that, you know, and you would have the Google Earth image of it, and you would just have to pull out just a little bit, and all of a sudden you see the tip of California over there. Like it's almost like this is a suburb of California or Los Angeles. I mean that honestly. It's not that far. So you have Los Angeles that's nearby, and San Diego that's just as nearby, and San Bernardino and Riverside and all that. A hotbed for Raider fans. They're going to make that trip. You know, fans from the Bay Area that understand what the dynamics were that were in play when the Raiders couldn't get a stadium deal done. They know, you know, how it all worked out and why what happened. And they're going to stay on board. And so you're going to have the LA Raider fans, the Oakland Bay Area Raider fans, the Las Vegas Raider fans. You're going to have fans from around the country. You're going to have fans from other teams. And that's not a bad thing. You know, sometimes that gets misconstrued. But in a city Las Vegas, in a city like Los Angeles, people are going to circle those cities on their team's schedule. And they're going to make a point to come out here. And it's actually a cool thing, not a negative thing. It's an honor, really, because it means that people really want to come see your city.
They want to visit your city.
Exactly. So you're going to have all of that. And I'm going on and on because I genuinely am excited about what's possible here, and not just what's possible, but what I think is going to be achieved.
Well, and again, you've been reporting. We're with Vinny Bonsignore, of course. The Las Vegas Review-Journal covers the Raiders. Also now the host of Inside the Huddle, 4 to 6 p.m. on the new Raider Nation Radio 920 AM here in Las Vegas. We just announced that today. Silver and Black today will be right before Vinny from 2 to 4. So, yeah, I mean, Vinny, that's the thing. You talked about all the positives before when everybody was just talking about negatives. You've always been kind of a voice of reason. And for those of us who lived in Las Vegas already, that was very comforting, because it does get, listen, yes, we have the vice here and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like every city, we have problems. But a lot of what you're saying when you moved your family here too, people don't see a lot on the outside. Our good friend Erie Raider here he says, hey, play-by-play during the game, will it be available nationwide? And yes, it will. The Raiders are on Compass Networks for national radio. That does not change. So they have a network of stations around the country that play the Raiders. So you'll still be able to get that. What the station that we're going to be on Raider Nation Radio, that's going to be Monday through Friday and Sunday too, of all Raider programming focused on the Raiders, including the games on Sunday. And then you'll also be able to get the games on KOMP Comp, as we call it here in town, 92.3, which is a rock station here in town. But on Sundays, long pregame show, postgame show, and the game will be available there as well. Let's get to some other questions here, Vinny. Let's see what we got here. Just got some fans talking about being here their whole life, talking about San Diego, Raider fans more than Charger fans. We know that story. I grew up a Charger fan, so I understand. Great news. It ties so well with the Raiders being the only NFL team in their home market for the first time in their 60-year history. That's Mark Outlaw over on YouTube. And you're right, Mark. And Vinny, that's the thing. I've been making the point for the last week and a half too, which is like, look, people forget that you don't you had all that competition in those bigger markets, right? So now here, your competition really is the Golden Knights. And I know a lot of people don't think that that's competition, but listen, entertainment dollar is entertainment dollar.
Sure.
And so it is a bit of competition, but that's really it. UNLV, unfortunately, I'm an alum. It's off the radar until they can get things straight there. And maybe they will with football and basketball soon. But at this time, the Raiders have everything. And Vinny, the one thing too that I've been talking a lot about is not only with this radio deal, but the Raiders have been so smart with TV. They came in and cut exclusive deals with every TV station, which in turn means that every TV station is going to have exclusive content and they're going to dominate the coverage.
Yeah, and when you start talking about the market to themselves, and even with the Golden Knights here, I could remember nights in Los Angeles or a weekend in Las Vegas where the Dodgers were still playing, and you would have 60,000 fans at Dodger Stadium, and right down the road at the Coliseum, you'd have a big Ram game or maybe a USC game. There's nights where the Lakers are playing and the Kings are playing and the Rams or the Dodgers are playing, and everything's a sellout, and everything's, so there's while you're right, the entertainment dollar can get stretched. I think this town is going to be able to easily be able to support both teams in the way that both teams deserve to be supported. Yeah,
and we're getting a lot of questions here too about and Vinny, here's the question that I know I get a lot too. From Kevin down in the Valley. He talks about, will there be fans in the stands? I know we're diverting from our radio stuff here, but we'll get back to that too. But Vinny, we don't know yet. We really don't know. And it could change. It could be 6 weeks without them. And then if things improve in the country, they could come back, right?
Yeah, and that's what I think everyone needs to be flexible. And when I say everybody, the teams themselves, what's the case today? On July 28th, is not going to be, may not be the case next week or the week after or the week after. So it's incumbent on everybody to be flexible and to understand that, hey, 16 weeks is a long season. Let's hope that they get through that season, considering everything that's going on, and maybe things can change. Right now, no, fans would not be allowed at Allegiant Stadium. We still need to wait for the Governor Sisolak, to make that proclamation and to make it, that yes, you could have this many fans. I know that Mark Davis, the owner, has said that he'd rather have no fans, and if you can't have all the fans, or that he might not show up if fans, or he's basically said that he wouldn't show up, if fans can't go. And all of which is an honorable stance that he's taken. I do know that some players haven't talked to some. I think they want however many fans can be in there. They would love all as many as is possible. They want that support. They want to feel that support. They understand the importance. It's a big season for the Raiders. If that can give them a little bit of an edge, especially knowing that they have to maybe go to Kansas City or wherever where some fans might be allowed in the game. They would like to have, and of course this is going to be Mark Davis's decision, but they would love to have some fan support if it's possible.
Right. And we got a question here from Mr. Raider 34 says, are you going to be at the facility tomorrow? Now, Vinny, I don't know about you. They've tiered media access with all the COVID. I got tier 2, which means I have to get tested and go through that whole protocol. But I know that I won't have access until I think the week of August 10th. Is that the same for you? I know they're going to do pool reporters too. What have you heard about that as far as getting some inside looks?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect access to the building until probably, like you said, the week of August 10th. And really, honestly, that's not the worst thing in the world. From what I do understand, also there'll be some access to players and coaches through Zoom. So knocking on wood that we get some of that beginning this week. At some point, I would imagine if they do that, it would be towards the end of the week. Fans have to remember that beginning tomorrow, the bulk of the teams across the NFL, the Raiders included, I would say about 70 to 75 players. Non-quarterbacks, non-injured players, non-rookies that have already gone through the initial screening for COVID-19. Well, beginning tomorrow, 70 or so players are going to have to go through that 72-hour screening process. What is that? Yep. Well, you have to get everybody, before any player, coach, everyone, employee, but we'll talk specifically about players. Before any player can get access to the facility, they have to get 2 negative COVID-19 tests over the span of 72 hours. It starts tomorrow. If their test comes back negative, generally it takes about 24 hours in the NFL, and with the Raiders, then they come back in 3 days. So that would put it at Friday, I guess. Friday. They come back Friday for test 2. And if they get a negative test on that or result on that, then they're allowed to go on to phase 2, which would be access to the facility, a normal standard physical. They'd be eligible to do some virtual meetings. But my point is, they're probably going to wait, and I would suspect that this is what they're going to do. They'll wait to the end of the week until that whole process gets put behind. So sometime, I would think, at the end of this week, we'll finally have some access to players on Zoom meetings. But as far as physical ability to go into the building, we mentioned August 10th, and that makes sense because that's right around, not very long after that, is when the teams can start getting onto the football field. Because again, another part of this is the first couple of weeks, let's say, is just going to be conditioning, weight room work, on-field conditioning that coaches can't even be a part of, just their strength and the conditioning coaches. Weight room work, which again, is just the strength and the conditioning coach, about 60 minutes for each of those elements. And at the end of the day, some sort of a light walkthrough where only quarterbacks, wide receivers, kickers, punters, long snappers, I think I named everybody there, can have access to the football. Everyone else, no football. And then after that period begins the ramp up period where right around August 10th, August 12th or so, where they're actually going to be doing some football things. And that's when we're going to be able to have access to the building. And to be honest with you, that's the most important. It's not really important as far as the conditioning aspect of it.
No, and that's the thing, I feel for fans because, when you look at what we've all been through since February and March, we were without sports. Of course, now baseball started up and they had the flare up with the Marlins today, and basketball started up. So sports is coming back. And for the NFL football fans, and Vinny, better than anybody, is Raider fans are some of the most passionate sports fans in the entire world, and they want to know as much as they can. They want to know what their team's up to. But you're right, there really isn't much going on. Yes, camp starts, but they got to get in there. But we're going to bring it to you. That's the great thing about Raider Nation Radio 920 and Vinny's show and my show and JT's show and Clay and Pritch in the mornings, Monday through Friday. Listen, you're going to get so much Raider information and talk. You're going to be able to drive to work in the morning, hear Raider talk. You're going to be able to go to lunch, hear Raider talk. You're going to be able to drive home, get on the train, wherever you may be, and you're going to be able to hear Raider talk right from Las Vegas, the capital of Raider Nation. So even though people are hungry for it, Vinny, it's going to take a little bit of time as well. Vinny, question: will Vinny and Scott do a deep dive on the new facility and all its capabilities? Vinny, I know the RJ has been doing stories on that, and you guys have more of that coming up, including there's a great book you can order from the Las Vegas Review Journal too about the construction of the stadium. Vinny, talk a little bit about what you're doing there at the RJ to document all of that.
Yeah, we have basically a reporter dedicated, Mick Akers, to everything stadium and facility. I keep pointing as if we're talking at a bar or something like that.
I do the same.
I'm Italian. What can I talk with my hands? But we're from start to finish basically for the stadium and for the practice facility. Just pictures, updates on a daily basis, drone shots, videos. The whole 9 yards, and it's really something to see. And I have to remind Raider fans of this, but the Chargers have been in Los Angeles since 2017, right? The Rams have been there since 2016. Neither of those teams have a permanent headquarters. They're still trying to buy the land or secure the land, whatever the case might be, just to get something like that built. And it shows you the difficulties in California, where there's a lot of red tape, where land is very, very expensive, where there's a lot of politics involved, to get things done. Whereas here in Las Vegas, the Raiders are stepping foot right into their new stadium upon coming to Las Vegas and have that beautiful facility in Henderson, ready to go in their first season. Whereas, nothing against the Rams, but they're working out at Cal Lutheran University. Funny story. I remember last year we were in Atlanta with the Rams ahead of going to London. So they played the Falcons. They stayed for a week in Atlanta, and they were practicing at Georgia Tech. So we'd have to go to Georgia Tech every day. And I remember, and they had a great facility at Georgia Tech, which kind of blew the Rams facility away, to be honest with you. A college facility that was better than an NFL facility. And I remember talking to Jared Goff, And he said to me, I go, what do you think of the facility? He goes, man, this is really nice. And he's like, do you think we'll ever get something like this in Los Angeles? I go, yeah, it'll get worked out. We'll get it. And he took a few steps and he turned around and he looked at me and he's like, yeah, probably after I retired. I was like, touche. It might because things take a long time in Los Angeles. I hope it doesn't, but it just shows you how things got done here in Los Angeles. And to answer your question, we're writing about it, shooting videos about it, talking about it on a daily basis. And it's really cool to see it all come together. Even in just the few months that I've been here, I got here in February, to see the progress on both buildings, it's just amazing.
It's incredible. I've been able to do drone flights over both and watching the progress too. I haven't done it recently because it's too damn hot, to be honest with you. I don't want to deal with it.
Yes,
but
that's now we're getting into another area.
Yes, but you know what? Only 6 weeks a year where it's this bad. Otherwise, it's it can be warm, but it's fine. But Vinny, I know too. We have another question here. Did you guys go to any of the park practices with Carr and the crew? I did. I went to a few of them, including one where I was with your colleague Mick Akers from the RJ, and we went to take a picture and Foster Moreau almost tore my head off. But he's a good dude, by the way. But they were out at the practice. I went and watched probably 4, maybe 6. I can't remember what it was, but somewhere around there. And I just watched, respectfully just watched what they were doing. And it was great to see them out there. At the same time, Vinny, I think maybe some people are making a little too much about it. I mean, there's a big difference, and this covering the NFL for as long as you have. There's a big difference between guys just getting out there, getting familiar with each other and running some plays versus going into camp and really doing it, getting prepped for the season.
Yeah, I give Derek Carr a lot of credit. He kind of organized that whole thing. He showed his leadership by doing so. And remember, there's been no OTAs or mini camps or anything of that sort this year because of COVID-19. So every little bit counts. That was the only chance they really had to get on a field together as a team, even though it was partially groups of 20 at some point. On some days there were probably 30 players out there. But I give Derek a lot of credit, a ton of credit, really. For organizing that and making sure that guys were being responsible and getting out there and getting some work done. I didn't go, and for me, that was their time. I don't like sneaking up and showing up at something like that. If they wanted me there, they would have asked me there. Guys were telling me about it, which is cool. And, I've got some updates on it, which is nice. But I felt like, no, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to just ambush them like that. And besides, covering the NFL, there are plenty of days where Jared Goff and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and his wide receivers would get together at a local high school in Southern California and work out. It's not all that unusual, as you said. So I let them have their time. I just feel strongly about that.
Yeah, and it was interesting because it's in my neighborhood, right? So the first time when it was just Derek Carr and I think Zay Jones, a couple of guys were out there, and they were posting videos. I'm like, okay, that's where I take my kids. Like I know I live in the neighborhood, and I would never divulge where it was. People were asking me. I'm like, look, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. First of all, because I go there with my kids, and number two, these players are out there just trying to get some time in. So I didn't do it. But yeah, I that's what I've been saying too. Is I know. For Raider Nation, at least for some in Raider Nation, Derek Carr is a polarizing figure. I've said since late last season, despite the swoon at the end because injuries and lack of depth caught up with them, I really believe that going into this year and knowing and sawing what they did in the draft, that Derek's poised for a big year. He's got to go out and do it, of course. He's got to go out and execute. But I really think that, and I just saw that. That's why I was really interested in watching them and just sitting at a picnic table and just watching, was to see how he had command and how the guys listened to him. And it really is, a lot of people try to take shots at him saying he's not a vocal leader. That's not what I saw. So I think Raider fans, whether you're a Derek Carr fan or not, or if you're still skeptical, I think you're going to see that. Also, Vinny, you have Marcus Mariota there, which I said last year too. It's good to have somebody push you. I don't care if you're a reporter, if you're a radio host, it doesn't matter your job. If there's someone there that can push you to make you better, it's always going to help you.
Yeah, and I don't think Derek needs that necessarily. I just think that from a team perspective, when you have, because you never know when that position is going to have to be called upon. So to have an option like Marcus Mariota is just, really good coverage for the Raiders. And we've seen it time and time again where that backup might need to come in for 4 games. And if he could get you 3 wins or 2 wins and keep your head above water, that's a big thing. I think what's motivating Derek Carr is what you alluded to earlier. For whatever reason, he's a polarizing figure. And,
I don't get it.
I talked about this. I have a podcast, with Vegas Nation First and 10, and I talked about Paul Gunther, the defensive coordinator, and how he's kind of a polarizing figure. And what I warned against was, look, I know that we live in a no excuse society, and in sports in general, in particular. But sometimes when you take an honest look at things and come up with reasonable explanations, it's not excuse making. It's the reality. The fact of the matter is, name me one time where Derek Carr had all the ingredients on a football team to have a high powered type of an offense. Whether you're talking about a bad offensive line, a lack of a running game. Last year they didn't have a wide receiver one that could stretch a field. They thought they had that in Antonio Brown, but that didn't happen. So there's always been some sort of underlying issue that he just didn't have the necessary talent around him, and that's not an excuse. There's a reasonable explanation aspect to that. Jared Goff was written off his rookie year, but I remember thinking, there's no offensive line, there's no creativity from the coaching perspective. There was nothing as far as any wide receivers. Well, 2017, here comes Sean McVay, and all of a sudden, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Andrew Whitworth as an offensive lineman, a revamped offensive lineman, and all of a sudden they're scoring 30 points a game, and Jared Goff is being Jared Goff, and it got turned around just like that. Well, there was a talent infusion and a coach infusion. I think the Raiders are good with the coach. I think they're great with the offensive line. I think they're really good with Hunter Renfrow. I think they're really good with Darren Waller, and I think that Josh Jacobs is a really good young running back. And I think you add a Henry Ruggs to that equation, and along with some of the other draft picks, Lynn Bowden Jr., Brian Edwards, a healthy Terrell Williams, and all of a sudden everything is in place offensively for this offense to take a big step forward. And they have to. There's just no question that they have to do that.
Yeah.
They averaged 19 points a game last year and haven't been over 20 in a couple of years. That's unacceptable. They're not going to win consistently if they can't break over that 20-point barrier and really into that 25-point barrier.
The second half last, I have to admit, because I cover the team and I don't look at it from a fan perspective per se. I'm not a fan, and I'm not somebody who dislikes the team. I try to stay in the middle and objective about things. But it was so damn hard to watch that team offensively in the second half, because there was nothing going on. The reasoning behind that we could talk about all day, but it was very difficult. Now, like you said, they have all those weapons. And then I think too, one of the things that we've been talking a lot about on the show has been that defense. So they've bolstered the defense to get Corey Littleton, who really, really well, to get Nick Kwiatkowski in there, to have the young talent, which may take a little bit of time to click with this lack of an offseason in the defensive backfield. If that defense can jump even to middle of the pack and that offense clicks the way it should, this team should score a lot more points and be in a lot more games and be more competitive towards what I would consider, unlike last year, a really competitive and serious playoff run.
Well, they're going to have to score a lot of points, and especially early on, you alluded to the fact that there's been no offseason, and that's really, I think, going to set the defense back a little bit. The talent's there. There's no question about it. Corey Littleton and Nick Kwiatkowski, two really big additions to this defense. Some of the young defensive backs, a defensive line that I think is going to take another step forward. But it's going to take a little while, because it takes a while for defenses to come together and get on the same page and develop chemistry. Whereas the offense, I think, is ready to hit the ground running, and they're probably going to have to. You don't ever want to get into the world where you have to outscore opponents to win games and shootout situations.
Yeah.
That might be the case early on, and I think that I think the Raiders' offense is positioned to be able to do just that if need be. And then as the year goes on and that defense starts coming together, the way I think it has the capability of coming together, then it'll balance out, and this has a chance to be a pretty good team as a result.
Yeah, no, it does. And again, we one last question here from Kevin, Vinny, and then we'll close out talking a little bit about the radio, as we appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. And that is, how close are we to signing Clowney? I know we've been talking about it on our website. We've been talking about it on the radio show. Of course, the Seahawks went out and traded for Jamal Adams. So a lot of people thought, well, now they're not going to sign Clowney, but of course the Seahawks made a couple cuts today to free up, I think, around $5 million. Where does Clowney end up? Is it in Henderson, or is it in Tennessee, or maybe back in Seattle?
Well, you would think that Seattle's out of it, but I would never put anything past Pete Carroll. He might feel like, hey, look, we got a chance really to make a run now with Jamal Adams. And you know what? What always backs up a really decent pass defense, which it looks like they do have the pass coverage aspect of it nailed down now with Jamal Adams and all the great players that they have in their secondary, is a really good pass rush. You add Jadeveon Clowney to the pass rush again, and all of a sudden they've got it on the front side and the back side. But do they have the money to do that? And so maybe let's just put them off to the side. Then if that is the case that they're not in it anymore, then the Raiders are definitely in it, and so are the Tennessee Titans. It'll be an interesting week, I think, because one of the concerns, I think the Titans brought this up, was where is he physically? Again, players aren't allowed to step foot in the facility, even for their standard physical, until they pass those 2 COVID tests to start off with. Is there a way for the Titans or the Raiders to be able to look at him and see where he is physically before signing a contract? You would hope that that's the case, but there are some reservations about that. But I do think the Raiders are in the running. It has to be at their price more than what obviously Clowney is asking for. But if Seattle's out of it and it is a 2-team race, and there's a 50-50 chance that Clowney could be with the Raiders.
Yeah, and I always say depth is always good. People want to criticize him because of the lack of sacks, but he had the quarterback pressure. He also was fine in the run. So I look, if you can get somebody on a team-friendly contract that's incentive-laden, why don't you do it? So we'll see how that all ends up. But I know Raider Nation has been very in tune with that. But again, we just wanted to get together tonight and talk to you a little bit about our part of the new Raider Nation Radio 920 AM, which you can hear locally here as well, but you can also hear a lot of questions about streaming. You can stream it from lvsportsnetwork.com, which is the radio station, the 4 radio stations here in Las Vegas that are part of Lotus on the sports side. You can get all the stations there. You can also use the TuneIn app. I know a lot of people have the TuneIn app, so you can also listen to all the shows there daily with my show, and I'm hopefully going to help Vinny do this as well. When our show's over is too, we also upload it to our podcast feed. So if you're an Apple Podcast or Spotify Podcast or Google Play, our shows are usually up there within the hour after they end as well. So you can also get them. If you don't listen to them live, you'll be able to listen to them later in the evening, maybe as you eat dinner or get ready to nod off, depending where you're at. But Vinny, with your show Inside the Huddle from 4 to 6 p.m. every day, starting next week, August 3rd, tell people a little bit about kind of how you're going to do the show, what you're going to focus on, and what's it going to be like for you to kind of go to that medium after covering the team all day on the print side and then switching over. Tell us a little bit about what they can expect.
Well, I just know the pace of the NFL during the course of the weekend on a daily basis, there's a lot to talk about. There's injuries, there's the next week's opponent, what's going on with the defense. There's a vibe of a team, there's a feel of a team. Where are they mentally? Where are they physically? And it all unfolds really honestly on a daily basis. So to be able to swing back at the end of the day after being a part of it throughout the course of the day, I think it's going to be great to be able to tap into that inside access that I have and then bring it right home to the fans at the end of the workday to talk about what happened, put it all into perspective, analyze it, provide insight. We'll have some guests for sure. And then really, how does it apply to the game coming up on Sunday? And I think that, covering, like we were talking about, covering football is very, very unique because there's one game a week and it all leads up to that. And it's a 7-day process. You don't just show up to the games. That process of winning begins literally almost to the minute after the previous game is finished with. You start already getting yourself physically right and dealing with your body and then your mind. Guys are flying home from the game or driving home from the game and getting home and starting to look at the next week's opponent and their matchup, their individual matchup, and they show up the next day for treatment, and then on Tuesday they have an off day, and on Wednesday you got your game plan sitting on your chair in front of your locker. So to be able to just dive into all of those elements on a daily basis and bring it to the fans, that's basically what I want to do, and I can't wait to get started.
Yeah, Wendy says, I predict no one will run out of talk show content this season. Wendy, we agree with you.
Exactly.
I don't think we would be doing it if we didn't think that was true. So thank you again. But just a quick reminder too, just to run it down, if you just joined us, Raider Nation Radio, 9:20 a.m., the official station of the Raiders here in Las Vegas, will begin August 3rd. That's next Monday, a week from today. The lineup, Pritchard and Clay. So that's Mike Pritchard, former first-round draft pick in the NFL, wide receiver, of course, and Clay Baker in the morning. Then JT the Brick from noon to 12. So when you're sitting eating your lunch, you can listen to JT talk Raider football. Then myself and my co-host Q Myers will do Silver and Black today from 2 to 4. And then Vinny from 4 to 6. So, man, you can have a whole day of nothing but Raiders football and NFL content. And, of course, we'll talk mostly 90% about the Raiders, but there will also be NFL stories that I'm sure we'll talk about as well, because they impact the team, they impact the city, because we are now in Las Vegas, an NFL city. So very exciting. And Vinny, I can't think of anybody better to be involved with this for the history that we've had. And I wish you much success and congratulations so much on not only coming here to Las Vegas to cover the Raiders for the RJ, but also on the new radio show. You're going to kill it, and you will have no bigger fan than me, and I can't wait to hear it.
Well, I'm not just saying this because I'm looking at you on a computer screen, looking at a camera, but it's likewise right back at you. And I'm honored to be a teammate of yours. I'm excited. Can't wait to get started. And I look forward to our banter back and forth at 3:45 or whatever time it is next Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And we will, I'm sure, talk to you before that. Vinny, I know it's the evening there and with your family like it is for me, but this was too dang exciting not to jump on and talk to you a little bit about it. So thank you. And we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right, take care. All right, so that was Vinny Bonsignore. Again, the lineup, if you missed it, and we'll put this up. You can go to the website, by the way. Go to silverandblacktoday.com, and you can see that. There's also a story on Vinny's paper at the RJ over there as well, written by Mark Anderson, a good friend of the show. If you go check that out, too, you can see all the details on that. Again, 7 to 10 a.m., Pritch and Clay morning show on Raider Nation Radio, and then JT the Brick, the legend, one of the best to ever do it. He's going to be noon to 2 p.m. on Raider Nation Radio 920. Then myself, Q Myers, Silver and Black today, 2 hours a day. We were doing 2 hours a week. Now we're doing 2 hours a day, and the show will be the same. We'll be the same guests. We'll get players. Obviously, being the flagship station of the Raiders, we're going to have a little more access too, which is going to be really good as well. Also, we will have a Vinny show from 4 to 6. So again, just a great lineup. And then the games and all the pregame stuff will be on there Sunday as well as on 92.3 FM. And again, I see a lot of people talking about streaming. Yes, you can stream all the programming, lvsportsnetwork.com. If you go there right now, it doesn't say Raider Nation Radio. It's got a story up there. But remember, this was all announced today. They couldn't change all that in advance, or you would have known in advance. And it was supposed to be a big announcement from the Raiders today. So what's going to happen is you'll start to see that stuff change over time. Some things will change there. Some things will get better. But you can stream it there. You can also use the TuneIn app. If you have the TuneIn app already, you can do it there. If not, you can check it out and download it as well so that you can do it too. Also, as I said, and I think the folks over at Lowe's Broadcasting do a good job. They usually put up segments of the show that you can find on the website. We, as you know, if you've listened to our show for a long time, we take all of our shows and we put them into our podcast feed. So when the show's over, if you miss it, we have it broken down there, full show, hour by hour, and even interview by interview that goes up. So you can go subscribe to Silver and Black today on Apple Podcasts, Google Play. If you're rocking the Android, you can also go to Stitcher. If you're a Stitcher folk, if you're a podcast maniac, and a lot of people who are on Stitcher love podcasts, you can go there as well. Spotify podcasts. Pretty much anywhere you get your podcast, you'll find Silver and Black today as well. So we appreciate that. And I'll see if I have any more questions here before William. I know Kelly's watching. So William, I'm sure he appreciates that as well. We miss him too. A lot of people think we fired Kelly or something, but we didn't, Kelly. And there he is. Say thank you, William. I'll be around. Kelly will be on the show. Trust me. But nobody fires Kelly Kreiner. I just want you to understand that. Kelly Kreiner is the most independent guy I've ever met, and he does what he wants to do. Nobody tells him what to do. So we love Kelly. He's a good friend of the show and a good personal friend as well. Will we eventually be on iHeartRadio too? I don't know. The podcast is up there. so you can get it there. The radio.com app, no, we used to be with CBS Sports Radio 1140, which was part of Intercom. That's Intercom's platform. So no, we will not be on there anymore as we're streaming, but you can get it the other two places. So it's all free. So you can go to TuneIn. TuneIn has a premium app, but you can get the free app and you can listen to the station there as well. But stay tuned. There'll be a lot more details coming as we get to closer to the beginning of the season. But a huge day for us here, a huge day for Raider Nation getting their own radio station. The team has their own stadium. They have their own training facility and headquarters for the first time. And now they have their own radio station and a half, even, because the games will also be on the FM side. So we're really excited about that. We're really excited that you guys have put us in the position. Without all of you, without all the listeners and viewers, we wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm so excited, again, to work with Clay and Mike Pritchard, to work with JT the Brick. I mean, heck, I listened to JT when I lived in San Diego and he was down there. His story is amazing. I'm going to learn a lot from him. I know we all will. He's the dean sort of the Raider broadcast group, and just amazing guy, amazing talent. That the fact that I get to follow him, that Q and I get to follow him every day, is going to be phenomenal. And that's the other thing. A lot of you asking questions about Q. Q is going to continue with his Locked In podcast. Yes. I think Wendy has that on there. Yes, he is, but he's also going to be on our show as well. Q's a hardworking dude, man. He's going to do like 4 shows a day because that's how he's made. That's why he's on the show. We love him and certainly appreciate as well. That Raiders fan, Kelly didn't get fired on his day off, people. No, he's not on his day off. He left the show on his own back in May after the draft. Kelly's just got some other priorities going. So he's good, but he'll be on. He's our draft guy. I mean, nobody knows the draft like Kelly Kreiner, so we'll talk to him from time to time as well. And then when he wants to roll on and just call in, I'm sure he'll call in too. He might be one of our celebrity callers to do that as well. And that's another thing too. We really want you guys to be a part of the new show. 2 hours a day, so we'll have time to take calls. We'll have a text line. We'll have all kinds of new stuff there. And there's Kelly. I get fired. It better be on the day off. I don't want to get ready for work. That's Kelly. Kelly likes to sleep. And I don't blame him. I wish I could get more. But Lester Hayes, yes, I would love to interview Lester Hayes. I think you're going to see a lot of opportunities for us to talk to Raider alumni now that we're part of the Raider Network. That's going to be a lot. You're going to see a lot of the show, whether it's with Clay and Pritch in the morning. So when you wake up and you're getting ready for work and getting out of the house, you're going to be able to talk Raiders with them. They're a phenomenal team. They're going to be great. And then JT, of course, JT knows everybody. And anybody. And so he's going to have great people. We'll have great guests on our show, as we always do. And then, of course, Vinny, he'll be at the Raiders facility, like he's going to live there. So you'll have lots of great guests and lots of folks that we've tried to get over the years. And we already have our first week booked up. So I'm going to be able to share towards the end of the week, some of our guests for next week for our first week on Raider Nation Radio 920. But a huge thank you out to the Raiders and to Lotus Broadcasting for bringing us on board. 3 years ago, I bought a URL. I started a website when the Raiders got approved to move here, and we've built it with the help of the team, including people like Kelly, including people like Chaz Osborne, including people like Q, and the folks who gave us a chance to get where we are. But again, without you guys, we're nowhere. So thank you for doing this and for watching us and for listening to us. And we look forward to taking this in a new direction and being part of, as you can see up in the corner. Oh, I got to point this way. Raider Nation Radio 920. It has its own logo. Yes, it's all official. So we'll be part of that. And we look forward to getting back on the air Monday with a big, big show. Our first guest is going to be one that you're absolutely going to love, because he is a phenomenal guest and one of my favorite. So make sure you tune into that. But thank you guys for being with us. Thank you again to my good friend and now teammate at Raider Nation Radio 920 AM, Mr. Vinny Bonsignore. Make sure you read him on a daily basis on the RJ. Yes, it has a subscription, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. Vinny stuff is that good. But thank you to all of you, and thank you to everyone out there for making us be part of this, because it was with it. And Julian, you're welcome. The Van Halen t-shirt. Amen, brother. 5150. I would turn my camera around and show you the 2 guitars on my wall, but I'll show you another time. Maybe I'll do that with the background. So thank you guys for everything. We will talk to you online. Make sure you visit the website, silverandblacktoday.com. We'll be there. You can visit new story. There's a great story coming out tomorrow from our own Evan Grote, who hosts the Just Pod Baby podcast, which is part of the Silver and Black Today Media Group. Make sure you subscribe to that podcast. But he takes a look at 3 burning questions heading into camp. So look for Evan's story tomorrow morning up on silverandblacktoday.com. Follow us on Twitter, silverblack, the number 2 day. And we always interact with you there as well. We might even do another video towards the weekend. But if we don't see you until next Monday, we will be there 2 p.m. and we will remind you of the entire lineup as we head up to the launch of Raider Nation Radio. Woo! It's going to be fun, guys. Thank you. And may the autumn wind, guys, always be at your back. Take care now.